What up, buddy? Welcome back to the show, man. Long time no see.
Ryan, my man, I finally made my way back to your show. So thanks for having me on, dude. Really, I do appreciate it.
Dude, it's an honor, man. I'm digging that new studio. I don't know
You
what to
like
say,
it?
man. That's sharp, buddy.
You're the one that is responsible for that because you had to come to Jesus meeting with me and said, man, you need to do something with your setup. So everything, the audio, everything like that, that's all you, man. That's all you. I give you props and credit for that. So
Man, that studio's looking sharp, buddy. Real sharp, man.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about what's your thoughts on the Web 5, man. Where did we skip Web 3 or what? What is this Web 5 thing we're hearing about?
Well, somebody in the community said that they cracked the code. Web 5 is Web 2 plus Web 3 equals Web 5. So I don't know whether or not that's legit or not. So whatever. I don't know. I think anytime you have Jack Dorsey's like the ultimate troll. Like he loves to throw things out, and honestly, he's not wrong. His quote was that Web 3 doesn't belong to the masses; it belongs to the VCs. And I would say that he's 99.9% right, but the 0.1% is Flux, and because we don't have any VCs or anything like that. But I do think shedding light on it and basically calling out Andreessen Horowitz and folks like that you look at what happened with ICP. They dumped all over the heads of retail. The idea of Web3. They capitalized on it immediately, and they really damaged it probably a lot. So I see where his point, where he's coming from. He's saying that the way that Web3 is being projected today with Chris Dixon and that group, that's not real Web3. And I would agree with him 110%. But I also disagree with the fact that he thinks he has to move to like Web 5, and then everybody's like, what happened to Web 4? Well, we just skipped and blah, 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 blah. Anyway. I mean, it's the ultimate troll move, right? So it's like, nah, we're not even doing Web 4. We're doing Web 5. But the thing you have to remember is it doesn't matter if it's Web 3, if it's Web 5 or Web 50. Flux is going to run it underneath. So that really is the bottom line. And Jack, if you're watching, we'd love to showcase a real community-based project that really does what it says it's supposed to do, and it is decentralized. So that's a big deal.
And what is he trying to do? Build something on like Web 3 on top of Bitcoin? Because you have to have a decentralized layer 1 to build decentralized layer 2s?
I mean, I saw what the roundabout proposal was, and it really already exists. It's more like an open source, kind of open node platform, which, it kind of already exists today in a roundabout kind of way. And I'm not talking about Flux, I'm talking about other projects as well. So it doesn't really, for us, it doesn't really offer any like competition or anything like that, because what they want is more of an open source, he calls it Web 3 because he's only thinking like, NFTs and shit like that that's built on top. Whereas, we're thinking infrastructure that runs all of that underneath. So, when we went to the Bitcoin conference, Ryan, it was, as far as the eye could see, were projects that were developing around the asset of Bitcoin, and not one to be found that was developing on the infrastructure of Bitcoin. So that's why I think, what Jack's doing is shedding light on the fact that there does need to be some underpinnings of that, layer 2 ecosystem. And the good news is it's already kind of been being built with Flux. So I could see a lot of these things that Jack's talking about absolutely running on Flux. So, I mean, we're even looking at deploying Lightning Network now on top of Flux. And I mean, there's tons of opportunities, but you got to get out of that maximalist attitude. Mm-hmm. Like it's Bitcoin or nothing, because that's just stupid. And
so explain to me, how can they even possibly do that when you can only settle 3,500 transactions on the main layer of Bitcoin max per day? Like that's the most that you can settle. I mean, just doing any type of trading or anything, how are they going to settle more transactions on Bitcoin? It seems like no matter how you look at it, when you're building on top of that, aren't you taking away?
Yeah, you are, but I think it's going to end up being the payment settlement mechanism off chain. So you're going to look at like what Lightning Network does and payment channels. So I think the scaling that they're talking about on Bitcoin is really off chain, and then the finalization is back on chain again. So you have Bitcoin, the storage of wealth, the dinosaur TPS chain, and then you have everything that's built on off chain that's going to kind of be the payment mechanism. So it's not like KDA or a platform like that where they have 20 plus chains, and if one chain gets full, they'll just move to the next chain and the next chain and the next chain and the next chain. So I think a lot of what they're going to do is looking at is deploying layer 2 solutions that utilize the finality of Bitcoin, and projects like Flux are super logical because you don't have to rebuild the infrastructure. So you got decentralized infrastructure, and then you build your layer 2 mechanism, and then basically use Bitcoin as your layer 1. So I think a lot of the technology advancements they'll have will come in the form of off-chain, creating things off-chain.
Now, when you go off-chain, does that jeopardize security? I thought the purpose of a blockchain was because we wanted to keep things transparent and keep them on-chain. Isn't that kind of how we got into this whole DeFi mess in the first place? Like Celsius and everybody was doing things off-chain. Yeah. And people can't track that data, and when you're off-chain, you lose everything that represents. So that's what... No?
Well, I think the thing you have to remember, Ryan, is it's an iterative technology. Like if we knew the answers to it and we, had the final deployment, we'd all be gazillionaires, right? So we're building the technology that's going to be, the next iteration. So the way that Bitcoin currently sits, it can handle that. But as they start to develop out the technologies in layer 2, like with what Lightning Network has done and things like that, I think you're going to see more. I think you're going to see more people working on that, and the security will get better. A lot of these projects, and the other thing that you have to look at is proof of stake versus proof of work. So, yes, the end all be all to security, and at least in my book, is proof of work. And I think part of the problems we've seen with Celsius and Terra Luna and some of these other projects is they were built on a proof of stake mechanism that hasn't been validated and is controlled by a few people. So there's tons of vulnerabilities there. Whereas if you're using proof of work as for finality, for settlement, I think that's the way to go. So you can build. You can, as long as you're building in layer 2 with the focus of tying into the security pieces of layer 1, which is proof of work, I think that's great. I mean, you see Flux do it with our Flux nodes. We have the Flux nodes that, proof of use of work pieces that run on Flux nodes, but we keep our consensus mechanism is our proof of work, right? And they tie together to make sure that they're working symbiotically. And Bitcoin could do something like that too. I mean, absolutely. And absolutely run on, for interchain operability, run on multiple chains. But you got to get people out of their tribalistic bullshit where they just every altcoin is a shit coin, and Bitcoin rules all. Because I can tell you right now, my experience at the Bitcoin conference was Bitcoin, if they do not start doing something to develop like what Jack is pushing them in the initiative, they will fall behind. I mean, I think they've already fall behind everything other than storage of wealth. So I think what he's doing and what he's pushing, I think, is an important initiative. And I might not like the nomenclature he uses, or Web 5, Web this, Web that, and he likes to troll a lot. But I mean, it all comes back to this. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's about scaling. It's about building a layer 2 network that will really give you decentralization at your heart.
Yeah, I think that Bitcoin's it's interesting to see how it's getting attacked, and seeing the vortex effect take effect right now, where they're deploying billions and billions of dollars to build out these solar power, hydro farms down in Texas that are coming off the Tesla factory, that are going to be run 100% off solar energy, and then they're taking the heat from the miners and using that to grow crops, so they're carbon neutral. Or it's crazy to see how they keep trying to discredit, and the media is trying to destroy Bitcoin, and they're now approving spot short, or they're now approving short ETFs, and we can't even get a spot ETF. It's like they're begging for regulations now, because all the maxis like Michael Saylor that got over leveraged and were telling people to take out loans on their house to buy more Bitcoin at 60,000.
Yeah, now that probably wasn't the smartest thing he's ever done, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and now Bitcoin's down at 20,000, and now he's over here begging for regulations. Like, we have to have regulations because Bitcoin can't succeed. But I thought Bitcoin thrived in these type of environments. I thought Bitcoin didn't need regulations. It was unregulatable. It, it could surpass any government. And now it sounds like the maxis are crying for regulations because their poor Bitcoin, can't survive.
Yeah, well, I have two points. I think you brought up a good point about it being attacked from the environmental standpoint. And I think that, if you've been in Bitcoin long enough, the honey badger don't care about what you say. It just does. Right. So you have a lot of these miners and folks like even Flux. If you don't acknowledge that proof of work can work better, and you're a project leader, if you're just like proof of work is it and that's it, I'm never going to talk about anything else, and proof of work will never change, I think you're doing a disservice to your project and a blockchain as a whole. So, I mean, Flux, our ultimate goal is to be carbon negative. We believe that proof of useful work will actually push it into the carbon negative area, and people are like, how the hell does that even work if you're a proof of work project? Well, the way that it works is the fact that there is a mathematical equation that takes your actual available compute resources, so whether you're mining or running nodes, versus the total demand and need for new equipment and for deployment. So if these colleges needed to build out a data center and they had to put 100 GPUs in there because they need it for rendering for their students, they no longer have to do that. That's already been deployed. All they have to do is tap into the marketplace to be able to rent that hash power, and now all of a sudden it's super valuable. So I did a podcast yesterday and we talked about it, and they said I said it's not an unusual concept like profit switching, Hive does it, and a few other where you'll switch to whatever's the most profitable to mine. Well, get rid of the idea of mining to a chain and look at useful work. So you're going to place your hash power and your resources directly who's paying the most for your compute resources, and they'll create a marketplace that'll drive that. So I think there are projects out there like Flux and other projects that they acknowledge the easiest way to shut people up about the environmental thing is to actually go out there and proactively fix something. So look at reusable energy sources. So they cap the wells, the flare-offs, and basically they're using the flare-offs that went into the atmosphere to power mining equipment now. So now useful work, right? So I think every project, including Bitcoin, should be looking at ways to expand useful work. Not necessarily the algorithm, but the idea of useful work is how do we make unwanted and wasted power become Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. So yeah, I think that the criticism, although it's over the top, I mean, because I don't know if you saw the comparison chart, Ryan, where they have washers and dryers versus Bitcoin, and it's not even close, So, but we don't want to get to a point where washers and dryers and Bitcoin are at the same spot. We need to get with the times. We need to start looking at renewable energy. We need to look at, perhaps, especially for Flux, a different algorithm built around useful work. And then you just take that whole conversation away and it doesn't matter anything they say. So, I am not a maximalist. I think that a lot of these different projects will be working together in the end to build what the final product is. It's much like when the internet was born. There was lots of projects, but they all work toward a common goal, and that's what gave us the internet we have today. So
I agree. I think that when you take a look at kids playing Fortnite video games, the game Fortnite uses more energy than all the Bitcoin miners combined. So I don't hear anybody complaining about their kids playing too much Fortnite. So
yeah,
unless you're going to really attack, you're not securing anything but a kid's ability to play a game. Like Bitcoin securing generations of wealth on a global scale. And
yeah,
it's going to be pretty interesting. Do you think Bitcoin could actually take the bond market, or do you think that the powers that be, do you think that there's a way that like the Charles Schwabs of the world can kill Bitcoin by approving spot ETF or short ETFs and refusing to properly regulate it like they did? Have you seen the thing with, did you see the thing with nuclear power where they talk about these nuclear power plants that have been trying to build and why the United States is so far behind on nuclear power? Because every time they pass a bill, they'll put $5 billion into building this new nuclear power plant. And then before they get completed, regulations change. And then now they have to go back and add another $5 billion, another 2 years onto the plant. and they've got the couple of these plants up to like $25 billion invested, and then they completely shut them down because they get to a point where they have to go back to the first set of regulations and they have to change everything that they've already built out. Is that something that they're trying to do with Bitcoin, like refusing to regulate it and constantly changing how they're going to regulate it, so nobody's willing to invest in it, and it's just they're killing it like that way?
I see it completely differently. I see them where they're at now. Right now is I think we're in a suppressive state. You know, people call this a bear market. I don't see the bear market, right? So what I see is the infrastructure side of the house is just booming, right? Like the different projects are raising a shit ton of money. They're building out the infrastructure. So I think they probably will suppress it, much like, in the crypto market, if you're familiar with it, we know what price suppression is. We've seen it, accumulation zones, right? And I think Bitcoin under $20,000 is criminal, and I think they know that, right? So if they can acquire it, let's say they stretch this out for another year or so, and they're continuing to acquire, the asset, it makes sense to them, and then they just take the reins off of it. So the nice thing about Bitcoin is, you're right, it doesn't ask for permission, and it doesn't ask for forgiveness either. Somebody said to me the other day, they're like, they're going to ban proof of work in New York, and I said, how exactly would you do that? And they couldn't come up with an answer. They just didn't know, because you can't. So I think ultimately it's inevitable that there is some type of regulation around it. And I think most of the regulation, let's just, truth be told, is the taxation of the assets. So they got to figure out, the government has to figure out how they're going to make money on this thing in the end. And I think, a good Loomis put together a pretty good proposal about regulatory constructs, to make sure that we don't pinch, new technologies that are emerging. And I think that's important. And all of us, if you're in the States, you need to be part of that. You need to be calling your senators. You need to be calling, whoever your state representative is, and talking about these things, because it's super important that we don't get, meleeed by some, 11th hour bill that ends up, causing havoc throughout the industry. So I think what you're seeing right now is, in the market overall, and I'm not just talking about the crypto market, I'm talking about equities, I'm talking about, stocks, securities, all these different things, is a correction, right? It's a pullback. And unfortunately, the crypto market hasn't decoupled from the standard markets yet, and it just follows that. So, again, anything under 20,000, at least in my book, for Bitcoin, is absolutely criminal. And, do your dollar cost averaging. This isn't investing advice. Nobody listen to me, because I'm horrible with investing advice. But I will say this, this is an opportunity you'll probably never see again in your life.
I agree.
I really believe that.
Because we won't have, these bear markets come from the lack of regulation. So if everybody truly believes that we are going to be regulated after this, and that type of adoption comes into this space, this might be one of these last bear markets, at least where we see the opportunities for coins like we are all looking at, like the Fluxes, the Bitcoins, the Kadenas that are at these levels. I don't think you're going to have these type of discounts. And I think that when we go into the next bull run, it's going to be completely different. How do you feel about, so you guys have a unique way of the way that you guys bridged, right? How you guys deploy a parallel asset. So you guys are the bridge, right? Zelcore is the bridge. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Which makes
Fusion is the bridge that goes between the main chain and the parallel assets.
And that's completely different than these other bridges that are getting hacked, right? Because you guys spin up your own side chain.
Yeah, and we built it that way on purpose to make sure that we actually deployed on the actual assets that we were putting into PAs. So, there is, frankly, there's some centralization there because it's maintained in Zelcore. But the ultimate goal is to eventually allow Fusion to anybody that wants to, integrate it into their platform, so that it becomes across the board. Right. It's like a decentralized exchange, really, when you get down to brass tacks. So, the bottom line is being involved in these different projects, these proof of stake projects, and even our Flux parallel asset is, all of them are on, other than KDA is on, proof of stake. You just have to be aware of the risk. I tell people this all the time. They're like, well, what would have happened if Flux launched Terra Luna? Because we were this close. We literally were with a week away of deploying Flux on Terra Luna, right? And in the 11th hour, it all got pulled back. So people say, well, what would have happened if you would have launched on Terra Luna and Terra Luna had this collapse? Well, ultimately, we always have to have a way for the people that are on the parallel assets to get back to the main chain. And that's why Fusion is so important is, if this chain ends up going down or there's major issues with the development platform or there's a hack, you need to be able to get your assets from point A to point B. And that's what Fusion does. So we took a different approach to it. A lot of folks like these wrapped assets. Well, we didn't like that because you're depending on a third party to basically create that wrapped token, that wrapped asset. And for us, we just went straight to the source. We went to Ethereum, we went to KDA, we went to Solana, and we created the parallel assets there and allowed the transition from one chain to the other chain. Does that mean that if you have a liquidity pool for Flux on Solana or Ethereum and it gets hacked, there's nothing I can do about that because you're participating in their ecosystem. So it's like, we can't save you so invest wisely is what I'm trying to say.
And how do you feel about the market conditions right now where we've taken a look at projects like AVAX, right? The coding language, everything that's getting built on top of these applications is forcing you to bridge out, right? Because everybody wants to be able to interact with different, whether you're it's a game like Axie, right? They were bridging assets into Axie so you could use those assets in the game Axie and generate passive income. All of these games pretty much revolved around these bridges that are just not really working. Yeah. How do you feel moving forward with this industry with everything that's getting hacked right now? Are these projects going to be here? Do you think people are willing to actually put more money back into things like Avalanche and Solana when it breaks every day? Or do you think we're going to see a complete flush and rebuild from the ground up?
Well, I see both of those things. I think you're going to see a flush, and I think 90% of the assets that are in the top 300, let's say, won't exist in another year. And the ones that do exist are going to be fixing a problem, solving an issue, and actually giving something back to the entire ecosystem as a whole, blockchain as a whole. So I do believe there will be a purge. You got meme coins that sit in the top 50. It's insane to me, but they're there for a reason, right? They're there to get your Bitcoin, ultimately, is what it is if you can create as much as you want out of the air, and then you can sell it for an asset, well, man, it's a win-win for them. For the retail users who are buying this shit, they're going to get crushed in the end, and we haven't even seen the maximum pain yet. Like people say about that, the maximum pain is coming, right? Because you can be down 90% and go down another 90%, right? This is reality. And if you're invested in projects that make sense and are actually fixing an issue, and they have a well-developed team, they have a docs team, you can KDAs of the world, the Fluxes of the world, there's a bunch of them out there that you can get behind and you can support. I think that's a big deal. And as far as the proof of stake side of the house, they just got to get their shit together, and they got to start working on utilizing platforms like Flux. If you take Solana's nodes and you start to make them decentralized and start to secure them with a decentralized network, proof of stake all of a sudden becomes a little bit more interesting to me. The problem is nobody wants to give up the control of those nodes. Nobody wants to give up the control of the project because it's completely centralized from the beginning. So, once people start to realize, hey, maybe proof of work is important to the security of whether it's proof of stake or another technology yet to be determined, right? We need to get it decentralized. We need to get it out there. There needs to be a deeper validation. There needs to be a better technology build. And that's what we're seeing is these half-hearted attempts to provide these bridges and other things, and it gets exploited. So, and I'm not saying they're doing this, but who says it got exploited, right? Like, some of these projects, we saw one today, the eHarmony one, that we're taking their word that was the hack, and not saying that they did anything. And the eHarmony or the Harmony guys or whatever, eHarmony, that's a dating site. What the hell? Whatever. Harmony Protocol, for God's sakes, what the hell? Anyway,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're taking their word that these things. How in the and I'm sorry I cursed
No.
on there. Can you edit that out?
You got you.
How in the heck it can, Terra Luna stable asset just dissipate like that? And like, where's the conversation around that? I mean, it just blows my mind. And we watched it happen, and people asked, well, what happened? I said, well, you have an asset that was created out of nowhere through an ICO. It was sold to large VC firms and folks that, bought it up. They built an algorithmic stable asset built on the price of something that they created out of thin air. And then when it falls apart, people are shocked that it fell apart. So it's like, I don't know, common sense isn't so common anymore. And I think that a lot of times people are blinded by greed. I'm getting, this unbelievable rate of return on, providing liquidity for this, cookie pool or whatever the hell it is. And it's like, yeah, guys, you're going to have an expensive lesson. I just read something the other day, Ryan, which broke my heart. A guy lost, he had started with a few $100, worked his way up to like, let's say $250,000. And he was all the way up to like being a millionaire. He had $1 million and lost it in seconds, right in Luna. You know what I mean? And the whole crash happened. So this guy, his whole wealth was tied to, this asset that now is zero. So that can't happen. That can't happen, guys. Like, we got to do a better job of educating folks about, hey, look, we don't chase shit coins. You know what I mean? We don't. If you're not, also spread it out. Take some risk. It's okay to take risk, but make sure that you're reserved as well. So you pick 4 or 5 projects that you are wholeheartedly, whether the price fluctuates up and down like this, I'm just going to hold these projects, right?
Yep.
And then you take some risk as well. So if I end up losing, 0.1 BTC, well, that sucks. I didn't really want to lose that, but I lost it, but it was a risk, high risk, high reward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to be good stewards of actually telling people, without giving an investment advice, right? But explaining just the basic financials, because they're not getting it coming out of high school. They're not getting, nope. And then, people think they're geniuses because they bought a dog coin and now the dog coin is 10x. And they're like, well, it's going to 10x again. So I'll just hang on to it. I'm a financial wizard. Well,
yep.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, kids. So, I mean, and we're learning that.
It's hard, man. It's like the more you learn about, the longer you're in this space, the more you really understand how little you learned in school, like about finance and saving money and investing in assets that generate wealth. It was always about how can you learn more to get a better job that pays you more per hour. It was never about leveraging what you already have and using that and getting that to work for you. And it's, man, I can't. It's
well,
like,
I think
I'm
that
so
was by
addicted to
design.
crypto.
I think that's been by design, Ryan. I think that they pushed this agenda of like, the American dream is, you're going to own a house that you don't own, that a bank owns. You're going to work at a job and give them 50 hours a week to make just enough to be able to pay your bills and not have any savings in the savings account. Yeah. They because you're a good worker, right? That's what you do. But I think the generations we're seeing now, especially, I mean, I broke that mold a long time ago. I was like, yeah, I'm done doing this grind thing, and I'll take some risks when I have to, because if you live your life in that, you'll make just enough to maybe pay your house. I would say most people will never see their house paid off, and it's the damn shame. If they knew investment vehicles, to be able to put their money in, and they actually gave them some real financial education in high school. All my kids have sat down with me, and we've spent hours learning about, how to invest, what to invest in, how to get exposure, how to buy things. They set up Zelcore, they put crypto in, they've got, each one of the kids has an investment account that they invest in. You know what I mean? Like this, I never had that as a kid. I didn't have shit. I had to figure it all out by getting rocked, so
with you, buddy.
We need to spread that word around, and we need to make sure the next tier of investors that come into this space is more educated than the last.
Does Flux have anything that you guys are putting together? Any like online education classes or little tutorials in Flux labs or anything like that you guys have in the works?
Yeah, so one of the big things that we definitely want to work on is the educational component. We want to have we actually we're actually working with several universities now to look at some type of decentralized learning platform that runs on Flux. So, you know, basically people would be able to create classes and be able to deploy it on Flux, and you could take them free of charge. It's like, you know, when my kids came to me and they're like, you know, should we go to college? I went to college and, you know, I got, you know, a degree and, you know, and took the student loans that came with it because that's what I had to do at the time. And my kids came to me and they're like, you know, do we go to college? And I'm like, it's really honestly up to you, but I wouldn't spend the money. What I would do is I'd educate yourself in other ways. There's plenty of online material. There's plenty of experiences in this world. Apprenticeships, get an apprenticeship somewhere, you know, learn something, learn a trade. You know, people think college has always been the status quo. It's not. The way that we learned a career was we emulated someone that we, you know, I want to be a cobbler. I want to do, you know, shoes or build shoes or whatever the hell cobblers do. I guess that's what they do. You know, that's what they did. And then we got to a point where it was a status symbol. If your kids went to the best colleges around, that's a status symbol. And that's one that I never played into. So I went to some pretty good colleges, but in reality, I look back at it and it was probably one of the worst mistakes I ever made in my life. Did I learn something? I did. I did learn some stuff. Could I have done it differently? Yes. And the technology didn't necessarily exist when I was going through college versus what these kids can experience today. So, you know, if you listen to Gary Vee or any of those guys, they'll tell you it's a waste of money. Don't do it. There's other ways you can educate yourself. And that's where, you know, we see eventually like, you know, Flux University or whatever you want to call it, where it's a decentralized app that runs on Flux. It's available to anyone in the world at any time, and they can go through classes and they can learn about whatever technology or other pieces they have. So
that's gonna be
I mean, I think it's going to be important. It's important. And
you guys will be able to use. You guys are working now with KDA and their NFTs as well, correct?
Oh yeah.
So you'll be able to use
our labs. Our labs are exploding, man. Like it's ridiculous. Like we turn more projects away now because we just don't have the resources to run them through. So the ones that come into labs, like, you know, Katie Bet and Mock and, you know, DocuShield and folks like that, they're the cream of the crop, right? These guys have proven that they have value, and like every single one of those projects loves the fact they deploy on Kadena and they run on Flux. It makes them decentralized by nature, decentralized by birth. So, you know, I'm excited to see what the labs projects continue to keep growing. I got to tell you, I had a heart-to-heart with the guys from Katie Bet, and I got off that call and I was like, holy shit, man. You know, the meme, shut up and take my money, right? Where the guys hold the money. I was like, you know, that to me blows me away. The Mock guys are helping us right now with we're launching a commemorative watch that is tied to NFTs. So, you know, Ryan, I got to give you credit. You kind of gave me the idea about this when we talked about the wristbands years ago, probably about a year ago, to get into events for life, right? So it ties. If you have the wristband and you have the NFT, you own it. That means that's actually you, and you can do, you know, whatever it is. The watches, if you haven't seen them, is a company in Baltimore, T-Sal, that has created these watches commemorative to Flux. Each one of them is numbered, and each one of them also has an NFT from Mock that Mock is helping us produce. So you'll have an NFT that'll be stored in Zelcore of your watch with your serial number. And if you own the watch, if you have physical possession of it and you own the NFT, you now own that asset. If you have the watch and you don't have the NFT, it's either a counterfeit or, you know, you lost the NFT or it's been stolen, right? So this is like a real simple way for me to actually get on board with NFTs, because you know me, man, like I am not a fan of NFTs, but I am fond of non-fungible tokens for assets. So whether it's watches or wine or, you know, something that can be counterfeited, right?
Yep. Versus golf clubs.
Yep. You name it. And if we can get to a point where that's maintained, like you open Zelcore up and you can see the things you own, maybe your deed to your house is sitting in there. Why not?
100%.
You know what I mean? Imagine what that'll do to the escrow market. You know what I mean? If you can settle your home ownership by possession of an NFT. I mean, it's insane, the possibilities. So this is like a little first step, and if you haven't seen the watch, it is fire. It is unbelievable. It's absolutely
sick,
gorgeous. Has the Flux logo loomed, so when when it's dark, the blue logo of Flux shows up. The backs are open back. It's an open back case, a display case, so you can see the movement of the watch inside. I fell in love with their watches. I met the guy at a watch. It's so weird. It's such a small world, right? I went to a watch show because I got I'm a horologist, which is the studier of time, right? I like that. And so I went to this show and I met this young guy who had just started up. He said, he loved watches so much that he built his own company. And we got to talking, and the next thing I know, we're talking about NFTs, and we're talking about how they could be tied to watches and, other things. I'm like, let's do one. Let's do like 250 of them. They're commemorative. We'll keep the price point very affordable. It's like $900 for the watch, which you're getting let's say the quality is like way better than that. I mean, you look at like maybe a Tudor or, some of these, Grand Seiko or something like that. It is on par with the quality of those watches by far. And it's tied to an NFT. So what do you get out of the NFT? Well, you get free access to any Flux event for the rest of your life. You get Zelcore Plus free for life. So as long as you buy it, you have your NFT, you have your watch, you're going to get Zelcore Plus for free. And we're just going to tie in additional promotions from our labs partners. So unique NFTs that are distributed only to the folks that buy the watches. And it's an experiment of how we can, actually make NFTs work for us. And I'm super excited. And that pre-sale, I think, starts July the 1st. It might end up being the 15th. We don't know yet, but yeah, I highly recommend you check it out. You can check it out on our Medium.
That's sick. You sent me a little picture of the Alpha, that watch. It is sick, man. I definitely want one. It is. And you can buy those with Flux, right?
Yeah, we're going to set it up so that you can do standard dirty fiat, and you'll also be able to use coin requests to be able to send in your. So basically, we would send you a request, you'd send it back, and then that secures your pre-order. Your watch is ready, and then it takes a couple months for them to produce. So by the time we're ready to roll them out, let's say it's in August, September, you get an NFT that's been produced by Mach, that's tied to your watch. So if Ryan has watch number 5, he has NFT number 5, they work as companion pieces, and then in Zelcore you'll be able to actually import your NFT and you'll be able to see it inside of Zelcore so you can track it.
Dang, that's badass, man.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gunning to get in front of folks like Sotheby's and other individuals who have already kind of started to dabble in the NFT space, but they can't really figure out how to bridge NFT to physical assets. And this is a microcosm of what we're looking at in a bigger picture. So, once this proof of concept is done, the watches are out, the NFTs are out, everything's linked to Zelcore. We can then parlay that out to other projects, bigger projects in the space, and say, look, you've got an issue with counterfeits. Let's hypothetically say it's the big daddy of them all, white and wristwatches. Mm-hmm. And now if they can all of a sudden have an NFT that ties to your Rolex, right? And you're able to maintain that. If you go into a retail store and you're going to buy a Rolex, you're going to get two pieces. One is an NFT proving that the piece that you have in front of you is real, and that's how you purchase it. So, I think you could definitely see some cool things like that. Baseball cards is another one, which I've talked about before in the past. But yeah, I mean, once these proof of concepts are done, and the other big thing is the storage of the NFTs on Flux. So we're not depending on, a third party like OpenSeas or someone like that. We want to be able to store the NFTs, whatever they are, and in the case of the watch, it's going to be a 3D rendering. So it basically, the NFT basically turns the watch like this, and you see the back of your watch with your number listed on it. So that's the NFT. And
you're going to be minting those on the Kadena chain, right?
It'll be on Kadena. Yep.
And that way it's stored actually on chain.
Yep.
That data is actually on the chain, not in a third-party server somewhere.
Yep.
Oh, wow. If you guys could, oh man, could you imagine what that would do for somebody like, oh buddy, you guys get something like that rolling and you onboard one big player.
Yeah, I
That
think
could snowball across the board. Holy shnikes, man.
I can share this because I know they won't mind. But I was talking with the mock guys today, and this is what he said back to me. We were chatting about next steps with the watches and stuff like that, and I said, we need to finish the NFT access from Zelcore and the on-chain storage from Flux. Soon everything will be in one location, and that will be the end-all be-all. He says that'll be massive. That will make Zelcore a powerhouse and for all asset management for all kinds. And ultimately, that's exactly what we want. We want, whether your asset is a real tangible piece of property or a watch. In that case, we want to make sure that you have ownership of that and it's linked directly to your Zelcore. So I think it could end up being a really big deal.
And then when they're doing that, Rolex would technically get their own namespace on the KDA blockchain, so that nobody could create a fake Rolex nameplate and make a counterfeit you know what I'm saying, like trying to make a
Bingo.
different. And Kadena is the only chain that allows that type of infrastructure that you would need to store shit like that on chain and give them dedicated specific, this is a Rolex namespace. You can't get that space unless you are that brand,
Yeah, I mean, this has been a little passion project for me because, like, I was laying on the couch and I watch YouTube at night. That's my decompress thing. I like to watch mindless stuff. And there's this guy on there. His name is Red Dead, and he does watch repairs. And he takes the watches apart and cleans out the mechanics of them. And you just sit there. It's like a 40-minute video, and they do it from beginning to end. It's like super boring. But in my life, I like a little super boring every now and again because I'm 100 miles an hour all the rest of the time. So just having that, So I'm like halfway through this video, and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if you could tie those watches, put a QR code or in a serial number, and then tie that to the NFT, and then you'd have to produce both of these pieces to show that you actually own the asset. And da 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 da. And I was like, so I start, firing out some texts. I'm like, and I go to my labs projects and I hit mock up and I'm like, I got an idea. What do you think? Oh, we're on it. Let's do it. You know what I mean? This is a great idea. This is the kind of stuff we live for. So, this is when good projects kind of gravitate together. You get to really do, this is a passion project. This was an afterthought. This was me and my mindless time just chilling there, coming up with an idea that on July 1st will be a reality. And that's pretty freaking cool. And it happened fast, Ryan. Literally, it happened so fast. So, yeah, pretty cool.
And that can snowball so big into so many different places. That's freaking huge. And the amount of attention that brings, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it's a fun use case. It does give us the opportunity to get in front of other big players in the space. Maybe, folks that have high-end, let's say Gucci bag or something like that, where you can start to tie these pieces together. And you can really start to prove to people what's real ownership. If I go into a shop and there's 5 Rolexes sitting there and I say, hey, I want to see this one, and can I see the NFT? And they don't have the NFT, then more than likely you're looking at a counterfeit. So, you take the risk of doing that.
So how big Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so how big, say you onboard somebody like Nike wants you to do something with all their golf clubs, right? And then they hear about Flux and they're like, well, wait, couldn't we just host Nike's infrastructure on something like Flux? Because,
Absolutely.
what would be the price saver for a company the size of Nike going off of
it would be
AWS onto, how much would they
astronomical.
save? Would you guess?
Astronomical. It'd be millions. I mean, and that's just from the infrastructure standpoint. That doesn't start digging down into the fact that, the majority of businesses today are looking for a competitive technology edge, right? So if you give them the opportunity to have let's say that you take Nike sneakers. Let's say Jordans come out and there is a Jordan that has an embedded QR code inside of it and an NFT that ties those shoes together. Now all of a sudden you can validate that these are legit. They tie back to an NFT. Somebody has the NFT, somebody has the sneakers. Now you know that the value is associated because this is original. We know it's original. So, I think, and then so they can say, hey, we're looking at Web3, we're looking at, NFTs, we're looking at the, metaverse, So it gives them some branding pieces as well. So, Sky's the limits.
Dude, that's so freaking crazy. I know we're getting close to that hour mark, Dan, and you wanted to talk a little bit about Titan, correct? You guys got some big announcements. Let's roll those out real quick.
Yeah, so you guys, I came to you with the the dirty deeds, right? The details. So we're gonna launch Titan within the next 3 weeks. We're gonna open it up to beta users. We're gonna have a list that you're gonna be able to get to submit your name as a beta user for Titan. The way that it's going to work is we have to do a Zelcore release, and once the Zelcore release is out, you'll have the Titan set up inside of Zelcore, and you'll basically just, if you want to lock it up, you say yes to Titan. How much? Boom, locks it in. So our goal is to have this in everybody's hands hardcore within the next 3 weeks to start really beta testing and looking for issues or problems that may come up. So it's kind of like let's say it's a closed beta, and then we want to get it out as a full release candidate within a month or so. So yeah, the folks that are out there that are sweating right now because we're getting ready to do our enforcement on our node structure, don't sweat too hard, because you're going to be able to parlay that stuff into Titan here before too long. If you can't run a node at home, Titan's the next best thing. So we're pretty excited about it.
Sick. Any other big announcements that you guys have coming up, or any other exciting news you guys want to talk about?
Well, we just dropped our geolocations, which is huge, Ryan. Like, you talked about regulatory compliance and things like that. We believe that, we want to get Web 2 companies to deploy on Web 3. And if, let's say you're a game, you're hosting game servers, well, you want to make sure that you're deploying in a region, so low latency, low ping time. You want to make sure you're very responsive servers. Well, geolocation is unique to Flux. Nobody else does it in the decentralized world at all. You can actually pick the areas where you deploy your nodes and your infrastructure, so you can be regulatory compliant within your region, or it gives you a better option to deploy and have better speed, better service, so on and so forth. So geolocations is out. IPFS is in beta right now. We're getting ready to release that along with our persistent storage model. So that will come within the next few months as well.
And what is that? What is the IPFS? Can you explain that?
So basically, it's file storage, secure file storage. So one of the only thing that Flux is lacking at this point, and it's lacking it by design because we chose to do it last, is our persistent storage. So basically what that does is it mirrors all of your data in multiple locations. So if one goes down, you still have it mirrored till another one's deployed and comes back up again. And there are projects out there that claim that they have persistent storage, but most of them have partnered with like a third party to provide persistent storage. That doesn't work for us. We want a decentralized option. So we looked at a different way. We looked at IPFS, secure Dockers. We actually designed our persistent storage and database component internally. We teased it on our last AMA. You actually got to see a picture of the mind map that we laid out for it. So that's a big deal, and I think quarter 3 into quarter 4 is going to be huge. We're also next month we're releasing Avalanche parallel asset, and right on the heels of that in August we're going to release. At this point in time, it's Cosmos, but there could be a change in there as well, depending on some variables. We want to make sure that we have a super good relationship with the projects that we're adding, and part of that is if there's challenges around that, we need their teams to be helping us as well. So we'll see what happens with that, but right now we're slated for those 2 parallel assets, and we want to get another snapshot done this year. So we'd like to get 2 more chains added on. So some of the ones we've been kicking around are Ergo. It kills me to say it, but Bitcoin Cash and some of the things that they're doing. I really like to get a couple proof of work projects added, and some other projects that we've talked about, in the past as well. So we'd like to get 2 more this year. And I think this year is going to be, the end of this year is going to be stellar for Flux, because we got ETH going offline. We've got people wanting to concentrate their hash to a different project. Proof of use work should move into its testnet model. And really once persistent storage is in place, it's game on. Jetpack 2.0 anyone can deploy at any time. It feels just like a standard VPS deployment. It's super easy, super simple, and that's a big deal. So we're pretty excited about all those things.
Man. Dan, you're always coming with the greatest news, man. It's such an honor to have you back on the show, man. Anytime you want to come back and drop some more alpha, you guys got some announcements, you know the door's always open, man. I know the community's going to be super hyped.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you do for the communities, man. Like, I really do. Like, and I appreciate your community as well, because your community, they kind of traverse, like, you know, KDA and Flux and Ergo and a lot of these different projects that we all support. So it's nice to see people actually talking about, like, real tangible, you know, meat and potatoes. Like, I want to learn about KDA. I want to learn about Flux. I want to learn about Ergo. And it's not some fluff bullshit where they're just talking about, you know, now the big thing is pain, right? They're talking about, oh my God, it could go down worse. And oh my God, we're in a bear market. Watch this video or your portfolio could be zero. You know, it's like that kind of, I get it, man. You need to pull people in, but get them in there and then teach them something. And you guys do that. You do that. You know, Hobby Minus, all those guys are your friend Andy, my friend Andy.
Andy's off the hook, man. I love Andy.
You know, they're all good guys, man. Like, and they all kind of gravitate together. So I thank you to all of you guys for that.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys, everybody that puts out good content, man. It's hard because there's so much goofiness going on out there. I don't know how this next couple months is going to play out. I'm expecting more pain, but I think we're going to get one more flush because we're not there yet, because they need more pain for regulations, right? They won't regulate crypto now, and because it's all going to crumble. They knew it was crumbling. They don't want regulations to be the responsibility for the crash. They want the regulations to be the reason why we need, or they want the crash to be the reason why we need regulation. So I think that the next big wipeout, all of a sudden,
I don't know, man. I think we've already seen it with the collapse of Terra Luna, with Celsius, with a lot of these other, you know, liquidity. There was one this morning. What the hell was it this morning that I was reading about? It was a
Harmony?
Harmony. Harmony was today. Not eHarmony. Harmony.
Tron.
Harmony was this morning, and then there was a stable asset that just took a shit. I think it was a Tron stable asset, you know, that ended up, you know, getting kicked in the face. So I don't know, man. It's maximum pain. There's nowhere to go, like, truly for a safe, stable asset. Some would argue even USDT is it's kind of iffy, right? So, you know, I think everybody needs to be very well aware that this whole down cycle, this whole, you know, kind of attack on proof of stake based projects, liquidity pools like this, it's not done. It's not done yet. You know, it's not going to be done until, you know, you see people in complete desperation. And the reason I say that is, you know, you look at what happened to Terra Luna, they're already trying to build another version of Terra Luna. And it's like, we didn't learn. Not yet.
It's embarrassing that the exchanges support that. It's embarrassing that the communities in this industry even gave Luna a thought after that, right? It wasn't like we had to get to the bottom of it. We didn't investigate. We didn't see, hey, was Do Kwon behind this? Was there any corruption? It was how fast can we spin up a Luna 2.0 and get it back out there and run that Ponzi scheme back like people didn't just lose $60 billion. That blew my effing mind.
It blows my mind there has not been more investigations. I mean, it's almost completely just bypassed. Like, we're desensitized as people losing $60 billion. You know what I mean? Like, that's just crazy to me. Like, I don't know, Ron. I don't think I agree with you. I think we're not quite there yet. I think we need one more pound, and hopefully, you know, everybody keeps their assets safe. And remember, not your keys, not your crypto. If you got it sitting on an exchange, doesn't matter where it's at. If it's a centralized exchange, get it the hell off. Put it away. Put it in Zelcorp. Put it on a Trezor. Put whatever you got to do. Do it.
Yep.
You know, hold your own assets.
I got $7,000 right now frozen on Bybit, and I tell everybody that's why I only trade on Bybit and why I trade with leverage, because I like to only trade with 3K. Right? That's all I have on there is 3K, but I can trade like I got 30. And I only have to risk. I might pay a little funding. I might pay a little extra, but I'm not using leverage to. I have 30K.
Why'd they freeze your account?
They just I do a ton of giveaways, so probably 15 withdrawals back to 15 different addresses. $700. Hopefully that's it. But this is what I tell people. I love Bybit. I promote for them. I tell everybody. But hey, at any time, just because I love them, just because I trust them, just because I can text their team, doesn't mean that a government ain't gonna freeze that, or regulations, or hackers, or who knows. But all I know is my account's frozen.
Think of all the people out there that are using Coinbase on their cell phone and they think their shit's safe. You know what I mean? Like, it just blows my mind.
356 billion in Coinbase right now. If they go bankrupt, that's how many people. That's how much. That's 3-4 times the amount as Luna, 5 times the amount of Luna, right?
Yeah,
Coinbase goes belly up.
A lot of people don't understand that the majority of Bitcoin that gets traded are paper trades. Like, you know, that's why we have like a withdraw your crypto day. You know, I can't remember which day of the year it is, but you know, get it off exchange just to show that they actually have the liquidity they say they have. And I would say, at the clip that Coinbase is listing these shit coins, it's concerning to me. You know, are they liquid? I don't know. I don't have any idea. I mean, you don't know that about any exchange. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, crypto.com got kicked in the face. They had a fairly large hack that they had to take care of. So these decentralized exchanges they're not there yet. And personally, I believe they end up being the way of the dinosaur once, you know, we actually get true decentralized DEXs out there that are running appropriately. So yeah, I don't know, man. This disruptive technology is crazy, and yeah, I think we're gonna probably see a little bit more pain before we go north.
Do you know who holds I Trust Capital? Your IRAs. You know where that's stored at?
No.
Coinbase.
Enlighten me. Oh, really?
So all these people that think your money's safe in IRA capital. I watch a guy that I don't want to say his name. I don't call him out, but he promotes IRA capital, and like in 2 videos later, he's just dogging on Coinbase, getting your money off these centralized exchanges, and I was just totally cracking up. I don't think people realize that these IRAs, where do you think the IRAs retaining all of that crypto and keeping it safe? They're using third parties like Coinbase because they can't keep it safe themselves. And Coinbase doesn't even have an insurance policy over $350 million.
We have to make sure that we take care of our assets. I mean, I'll tell you right now, my kids asked about it as well, you know, investing and stuff like that. I said, just hold the asset.
Yep.
You hold the asset, not somebody else. Don't depend on somebody else to do your job for you. And we've got kind of like in the Web 2 world, we've gotten used to that. You know, if I need my password reset because I forgot it, well, guess what? In Zelcore, if you need a password reset, you're screwed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because that's part of your private key. So I mean, and people depend on other people to make their decisions. But now you're starting to see people get more educated about it and understand. Like, you know, I had a guy approach me. I was in an airport, and he's like, "Hey, are you Dan Keller?" Yeah. We were talking for a while, and he's like, you know, he goes, "I'll be honest with you. Till I started listening to Ryan's podcasts or live streams," he goes, "you know, I didn't think much about, you know, where my assets were and stuff like that." And then he goes, "I downloaded Zelcore," and he had to show me a Zelcore on his phone and all that kind of good stuff. But the long story short is we're slowly penetrating new investors. Like, you know, there's going to be a process, almost like a ritual. You know, you come in. Your first step is to buy some Bitcoin, right? Then you set up a self-custodial wallet. Then you purchase your first altcoin, like, and we're going to help them work them through that. But setting those like foundational groundwork of these are the security things you need to do to keep your assets safe, I think is super important. So I want to share that with you because I forgot to tell you about that.
That's sweet, man. That's so cool. I love Zelcore, man. And you guys got a new upgrade. So let's end it with this one. Can you tell us a little bit about setting up a Zelcore on a thumb drive or on a separate computer completely? Is that similar to like a homemade ledger almost? Is Zelcore on a thumb drive, would that be considered a hardware wallet? Can you give us like the rundown on and talk about the Zelcore upgrade?
Yeah, basically, I would say you can install the application on a removable drive. You never install and this is just good practice, guys. You never have Zelcore or any of your crypto wallets stored on your everyday computer where you do email, where you do web surfing, where you just highly expose yourself. So whether you have like a dedicated computer that is basically just Zelcore on it and you put it away somewhere, or you do like what Ryan did and what I've done, and that's install the application on a removable hard drive and you only access Zelcore through the removable hard drive, that helps as well. We will be working on a hardware wallet feature in the future. It's on the Zelcore roadmap. I think once they get through the UI UX revamp and then launch of their NFT platform, I think you'll probably see them go back to some basics and get some hardware components. But the other thing is Zelcore is my project, right? I am the CSO for that. And I'll tell you, like everything else, don't keep all of your eggs in one basket. Use a hardware wallet, keep some in there. Use your warm wallet like Zelcore, keep some in there. Get a cold wallet and spread it out. Have multiple accounts. So like, don't keep, if you have $50,000 in crypto, don't keep $50,000 in one account. You split that up in 4s and you spread it around. It's just good practice, because the odds of you getting hacked in one platform, or, I mean, we saw this stuff with, MetaMask, where people are spoofing and then they lose all their crypto. The odds of getting it done 4 times is astronomically less than getting it done 1 time. You screw up and you lose your I call it my bullshit wallet, my walk around wallet that I keep, but I keep everything else on Zelcore and I keep it offline. So that it's just good practice, and get it off of exchanges. Holding it on a warm wallet like Zelcore, or a cold wallet like a hardware wallet like Ledger, it just good business practice, man. Like, just do that.
And has Zelcore ever been hacked? Have people ever lost money? And is there ever a chance that if Flux didn't exist, what would happen? Because that's the number one question people ask me, and I don't fully understand the answer to it.
Well, Zelcore has never been hacked to my knowledge. There's, and I've been here since we started the project. It really is like a brain wallet. They call it hierarchical deterministic wallets, which are as old as time itself. So it's not Zelcore. The way we use a username password combination hashed is not new. It's been around since the early days of Bitcoin. So we really built off of technology that was already in existence and worked well. So a lot of people call them brain wallets or something like that, where you have to remember your private key here, and then that's how you access your funds. But we simplified it by creating the username and password and then actually hashing that into your private key. So, but like everyone else out there, this is disruptive technology, and, you always have to, reduce your exposure, like I said, split it up in a couple different accounts, make sure that you're using hardware wallets, warm wallets, cold wallets, whatever. Don't use it on your primary PC ever. And I'm looking at you, who you are. Stop it, get rid of that, don't do it, right? Like the Jordan meme, make sure that you protect your assets, because, and then what I usually do personally is I have 5 or 6 different wallets, and then I have one that's just my bullshit walk around wallet, right? So I show people Zelcore with it. I'm not scared if something would happen and somebody would, end up, pillaging that wallet. It wouldn't be the end of the world for me. The other thing is Zelcore is as secure as you want it to be. If your username is this long and your password is this long, and they're hashing them together, and that creates your private key, the odds of you being hacked are so minute you couldn't even put math to it. It would take gazillion years to brute force something like that. So, I mean, it's all about security. And to answer your question, if something happened to Flux, would Zelcore exist? Absolutely. Zelcore uses Flux's infrastructure much like every other project, but that doesn't mean that we don't have, a Web 2 fallback, or even, we use the best of both worlds. I've always said we're not maximalist, right? We want to make sure that we're using, our goal is to be Web 3 and have Zelcore run completely off Web 3, but there are always Web 2 components because they haven't been created yet on the Web 3 side. So, whether Flux exists or doesn't exist, Zelcore doesn't go away.
Perfect, man. That's great. Great way to end the show, Dan. So it's an honor to have you on, man. And whenever you want to come back, buddy, just feel free to reach out.
Honored to be on. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Have a great day. Hey, you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, then check out my Kadena playlist. This one blockchain is going to change every aspect of life as we know it. And then come join us live on my second YouTube channel. Love you guys.